All right. Welcome and good evening.
Divine Creator, we ask that the light of highest awareness fill the minds and hearts of those who are open to your light. We ask that they be assisted and strengthened in their resolve to achieve peace using peaceful means. May their minds, their hearts, and their actions reflect the divine will to good for all. Comfort, strengthen, and support those who are in a difficult situation in their mind, body, or spirit. Bring confidence to them that your divine hand is at work in their life. Amen.
I was on mute. Welcome and good evening. My name is Reverend Mary Huber. I'm currently the pastor of the Community Chapel of Holistic Healing, and otherwise known as CCWH. We are a non-denominational, non-profit spiritual fellowship founded in 1977 by Reverend Michelle Luson, a mystic and channel for the multi-dimensional consciousness. She had an apparition of Swami Sivananda prior to her starting this organization, who had asked her to do so and to place it in the Washington, D.C. area, which we are mainly located here, for the purpose of providing light to the nation's capital. We have a website, ccwh.com. I hope you will join us in different activities or awarenesses that we put on our website. If you would go there and activate potentially some of your own interests there. Everyone is on mute, and while we are on mute, you can now recite out loud the 3 affirmations of faith, hope, and charity, which were channeled by Michelle in the very beginning of the organization as the definitive way to bring all of your energies into alignment. And we begin with the faith affirmation. I believe in the spiritual existence of myself as a perfect image of the divine creator. In this reflection that is my physical embodiment, I have faith in the supreme guidance of my soul for my balance, my needs, and my opportunities. Outside of myself, there are also perfect images, and nothing can delude my thinking otherwise. The hope affirmation. Acknowledging my faith in the omnipresence of my divinity. I hope for realization, awareness, and acknowledgement of the existence of the great I am within myself. And the charity affirmation. In understanding faith and knowing hope, I pledge my actions, my desires, and my thoughts to the performances of myself on the physical planes of the earth, to honor, to love, and to enlighten all that is a reflection of the divine outside myself, so that my perfection is imaged back to my creator. So help me God. Well, this evening, we are having, that slide was good, Brenda. We're talking about our relationship to our creator. And I was reviewing some of the material that comes to me periodically through different channels, and one who was channeling Saint Germain. I was just came upon this one statement. It says, he said, we are much more connected to each other and to God than we think or realize. Well, we're talking about our relationship to God and honoring it and loving that relationship. And it kind of brought me back to the very beginning for me of where I found out about God, because you have to find out about God before you're going to find God. And then, of course, I was raised Catholic, and I went to a parochial school. First grade, in 1941, I walk in and see these amazing creatures walking around, women who were entirely in black and the robes all the way down to the ground, or to their shoes at least. And I was being taught by nuns, and they were the ones who impressed upon me the instructions about God. My mother certainly was very devotional. She was a very loving woman who taught us our prayers and beforehand. So I already knew about prayers. But the whole thing about God was, that's where we went to learn it. And it's interesting that the person's upbringing will determine, when we start talking about the Creator, whether they even believe in a God. And it doesn't occur to you that because of your own background, how different that kind of an orientation or an upbringing can be, because the nuns were very well, in first grade, what can you say? When you have a 6-year-old in front of these, a woman who's standing there looking like that and teaching with great authority, you certainly believe everything that's being said, because this is, prayer and it's God, and everything I learned there was as far as I knew, true. And I was trying to figure out about God in first grade, because it was interesting to think about, well, God is in church. And I thought, okay, God is in church, and somehow behind that tabernacle door, God is there. Well, they also said, well, God is in heaven. And all of the Catholic material that I got, the little cards that you get with the saints on it, had heaven as being in the clouds. So I figured God was in the clouds, and sort of a figure there, reigning over everything. When the nuns would say something else, like God is everywhere, I thought, well, that's okay, that God is everywhere, because they're saying that. But it didn't occur to me that if I had been an adult, none of this could have connected or made sense to me at the time. But they were mysterious creatures, and I pondered a lot about their existence there, and why they were the way they were. And certainly I wondered about whether they had legs, because I never saw them drifting across the floor. The priest would come in periodically to give us instructions, and he was a very stern German man who was an older man. And he certainly scared the heck out of everybody walking in because of his stern look. So I thought, well, he scared the hell out of us. So I don't know why he's coming back to try to hear our confession, because we, certainly didn't have to go over all that again. He just certainly straightened us out right away. But the concept of God coming out of that very primitive place, certainly it took a while, certainly a long time, before I realized what I really needed to know about God and where God was and anything about that. I never questioned the existence of God, and was surprised when, I would get out in the world and I would figure that people didn't believe, or they questioned whether God even existed, because I thought, of course, that's true. And it certainly is a process of understanding. As you get older, you have to go through your developmental stages in order to grasp more and more. I don't know what children learn today or how they learn about God. Sometimes it gets a little concerning about looking at generally the world and wondering whether how all of that happens for people today. Where do they find out, and how do they believe in God? And are they supported in their understanding of God? And do they have a distorted version? I certainly had fairly distorted version when I was a child. And only to know that every time you make an advancement in your own world of understanding more and more, comprehending more, can you begin to comprehend more about what you were really being taught. It's difficult to teach children a huge concept, a metaphysical principle that is vast. This is what the greatest thinkers of all time have been talking about, and the greatest mystics have been trying to impart to all of us, the presence of God, the existence of God, the fact of God, and all of that through time. So it's not something that I know that can necessarily come about too easily for people without having some kind person be there to support some kind of a learning process that goes into that. So beyond that, I think I was pretty well set until figuring that I was going to church and God was, always there, and I was praying very sincerely. Certainly, I think early on in my life, I think the angels were probably more palpable to me because, I was always praying at night that my angel was going to be with me and watch over me at night. So kind of God was not quite as close as the concept of angels at that time. But you move on in life and don't really think more about that. You live a good life. You're trying to live the commandments and do the right thing. And I didn't really go on to my own understanding of not is there a God or where is God, but why was there so much illness and death, and how to explain that, because I was working as a nurse in an oncology unit where there were only children and they were all dying. And that became too much for me to handle. Every single child died on that unit because it was the early stages of trying to figure out what to do for children with leukemia. And they had no answers at that point. And I had to question the reason for this. And I came to understand a number of years later, after meeting Michelle Luson, our founder, that this really was my spiritual awakening. I was adamant that I had to find out what is the truth of everything. And I found that it is very important to find out, and through her teachings, who we are as individuals when we're doing that searching, and why are things happening to us as they do in this kind of a situation that we're in. That was very important. So to find God, I think, is also a finding of self, because they're intertwined and you don't realize that right away. One finds that the true nature of every human is actually a spiritual one. You're a spiritual being, a higher creative consciousness that happens to be inside of or surrounded by a physical form, which that was an interesting new way to take a look at things. And I was very grateful for the information that was coming to me. Of course, I had been taught from the first grade up, that we were created in the image and likeness of God. And of course, the likeness is spiritual. But I hadn't understood that. But of course, through Michelle, I came to understand that once spirit involves itself in physical matter, it's all God anyway. And we are all animated by the presence of God in us. So to become closer to God, I began to meditate every day. I needed to know more about my inner world. And once I had asked that bigger question of why things were the way they are, I found myself reading books and going through as much material as I could to find out about this. And I'm grasping the understanding of creation. Becomes evident that God is all that there really is everywhere. Everything, absolutely everything was created by God, and we actually move about in the substance of the Creator. We are part of that substance and are not going to get out of it by simply leaving a body, because this is all one. Everything, that's all one. Then this journey, this seeking of this relationship to God, becomes important, more important as the journey goes on. It's never going to be an ending to this journey. Finding more and more, it's more enthralling as you go along the way, because you find out things that you didn't understand before. It wasn't that maybe you weren't taught it, but you really didn't grasp it the way it needed to be grasped. And maturing and getting closer to God in a mature place is a very rewarding in life. So we find out that we not only are a loving product of God. We are not only the God substance, we are a loving product of God. We are a unique contribution to the universe. We are customized manifestation with a purpose and a destiny. And that's an awesome place to go to for your understanding of, who you are as an individual. I believe it would lift more people if this kind of understanding could be given to them and realize that everything they have comes from God, that there is nothing at all that is needed except to go to the God, and the God that lives in them, the Creator who created them, lives within them. There is no God sitting on a cloud, and God does not, I'm sure God can sit in the cloud. I'm sure that God is in church, because God is literally everywhere. But you don't have to go anywhere to find God, to adore God, to become closer to God. It's going within and finding that. The silver cord that connects us to our Creator, to our I am presence, is tethered in our heart. And the seed atom there is a tripartite energy of the divine, which holds the three most powerful rays of God, of love, of wisdom, and power. So in this life, we can count on several activities that would bring us closer to our Creator. At least these are the things that are important to me, because it's a growth for me to go into prayer, to meditation, and have affirmations. And the prayer affords us the opportunity to have direct contact, like kind of a line to God. It's a time of asking. It's a conversation, really. And we go with our whole heart and our whole mind to God and ask that mind and heart of God come into us and make sure that we are constantly aware of that. And this prayer, this conversation is important. It nourishes that connection between us and our inner higher self. And it's important that we imbibe in that very often during the day, as many as times as we can think of doing a prayer. It would be good to do that. And meditation, on the other hand, is active, intense listening to God. That's the definition of meditation. And it is the finest way to connect in a very direct way to the mind and heart of God. And it's probably also the oldest connection to God, when we were asked to be still and listen. And through that, we developed the understanding, the concept, the feeling. We are allowed to experience the feeling of the presence of God by being quieter, by being resisting doing our things in the day and outside of ourselves. And of course, there are a number of kinds of meditation that can be done, and that are internally based, but there are people who get more sometimes out of, or sometimes we can, when we have a variety of meditation types that we do by going outdoors. Because the great outdoors is a great manifestation of God's beauty and presence in the universe, and a great way to connect. And many people find that the best way for them. And of course, my other form of making that contact is through affirmations. And I understand that these are best vocalized out loud. And it is through sound that much change can be accomplished. And certainly by the sound of your own voice and putting it into form that happens around you, bringing it out into the world in that way becomes even a greater affirmation. So throughout the time on the planet, and there have been many journeys that each of us have made here and there, and some mistakes were made along the way. And it took us away from the concept of God. It took us away from God for a while. So to correct that misalignment, many lessons have been learned along the many lifetimes that we have all imbibed in our soul's journey. And in making those corrections, we became wiser and more understanding. So in this era today, there is a great need to lift ourselves out of these lower dimensions that are, and we are being prepared to enter a higher and finer one. And that level of understanding and the consciousness that we are aspiring to now requires a release of old patterns so we can match the new frequencies there. And of course, that dimension is the Christ consciousness, the one that we have been striving for so long to achieve. So for help in doing this, Saint Germain, along with hosts of other great light beings, have given us the opportunity to transform any lingering distortions of God's precious energy into pure light. We can transform it. And I also have found this statement by Saint Germain. He said, we could call on the law of forgiveness and say to your I am presence, dissipate and consume this wrong creation. This throws it back to the cosmic law for adjustment, where it is adjusted outside of the individual karmic activity. This truth would give immense relief and great freedom in a much shorter period of time. This is because the individual is the creator of the disharmony in the first place. Now, it is suggested that each one train themselves to always hold themselves within their own magic circle of the flame of divine love, which has to be built consciously around you. So that image of the flame of love that is surrounding us, some people see it as a bubble of light, but it is much, I think, more profound than that. And I think the action or the feeling of the flame of love being around us is much stronger for a lot of people. And it would be good to place us in the middle of that flame of love that God is, our own creator, is sending us each millisecond of every there is no time is not being sent. And he said, place a firm grip on yourself, putting out of your mind everything of a discordant nature. The one who can do this will receive great benefit. That one will open himself to the mighty current that will attune the harp strings of the soul. A lovely thought. So through these, one may receive distinct hearing of the inner presence and a clear vision beyond the veil. The only right attitude for every student on the path of light need to take during the apparent chaotic time would be to drive into the midst of whatever this condition is, drive in there the consciousness that there is only one cause, and that has any power. And that is the wisdom, power, and presence of Almighty God in full action here. So whatever the discordance is, make sure that you insert into that understanding or that view of it. Only God is present there, and the presence of God in that midst will create positive action there. Project that onto the discordance. It's very important that we do that today, whether it's for ourselves or we can do it for others. Remember always that God is pure love and seeks to have us return home. And the entire purpose of life is finding God in yourself and your talents and your calling and your sacred labor, and endowing anything you do with this spirit. People may say otherwise, but when it comes down to it, no one in this world is happy until he or she has made his peace with his God, which is your I am presence. I'd like to include some other people here this evening in tonight's offering. And I did receive a communication from Howard Evans, who's not here this evening, but he did submit something he'd like to share. And I will share his recording first, and then I will open the floor for others to share something as well. Let me begin this.
Good evening. I'd like to share with you this evening my method of joining with my higher consciousness, with my God, for meditation, healing, or receiving messages. I begin by grounding myself mentally into the earth. I'll center myself here in the third eye. I cross myself in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, taking deep breaths. I relax. I ask the holy light of the Father to surround my entity, my genetic entity, my guides. I ask they be brought into harmony one with another. I ask this be done now. Beloved great host of angels and all great beings of light, my God most high, we thank you for all that you have done for us and all that you continue to do for us as we seek to learn more about the light of creation, the light of Genesis. We invite you to be with us here today and ask that you would assist us in every way possible as we seek to get more of the light of creation, the light of Genesis, into our homes, into our hearts, into our lives. Amen, 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 and amen. This time I open the spiritual cone with a filter of Christ consciousness for all those who would enter. And an intent for the betterment of mankind. That's the process I use. You can use it for healing, for meditation, for receiving messages. You can do remote healing, or just do a silent meditation. It will take you into your Holy of Holies. Thank you for listening, and I hope this is helpful to you.
Hello and welcome.
Sorry. The meditation by Kelly will come a little bit later. Does anyone else like to join with something that they have to offer this evening?
I found a prayer I'd like to share.
Thank you.
It's Lord God, you have taught us that you have a plan for each one of us. Your hand guides our steps and provides us with all we need. Because you are good, you only want the best for us. Good and gracious God, I ask that your pathway will become manifest in my life. Help me to walk in the paths that you have laid out in front of me and lead me through the narrow gate. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, Gloria?
As I thought about what you asked, it occurred to me we talk about prayer and meditation, but we also can include applications, demonstrations that reinforce in us and to others the presence of God. And so I came across three different practices that we've trained on through CCWH and Michelle's teachings. And they have to do with dreams and oracles, spiritual counseling. They have to do with the holistic healing, including the bridge between traditional healing and energy healing, vibrational healing. And then the aspect of connecting in with space and planetary energies. These practices have always enabled me to realize the divine nature of each of us. And I'll start with the first one, which is, I'll give a quotation from a Greek dream interpreter by the name of Synethius. Existed maybe around 400 and something BC. But he said it's wise to record your dreams of the night and your sights during the day and circumstances around them. Keep a day book as well as a night book to monitor the two lives you are living. Note what you are doing in the world of your imagination, where you also have a body. Our bodies are not just physical, but on other levels. Treat yourself to a personal history of your waking and sleeping. And I add to that, take note of the synchronicities in our lives. What are synchronicities? Some people call them coincidences, but they have deep meaning to us. And our whole being, through our feeling nature, is able to record and register a synchronicity. Another practice or effort that brings me close to God is in the area of healing. And again, these are just a couple of practices, not certainly all of practices. But there was a former CCWH minister by the name of Michelle Small-Wright, and she is a full-time channel for what is called nature intelligence. And she suggests to all of us that we should, quote, behave as if God and all life mattered. Michelle directs what's called the Paralandra Nature Research Center, and it produces plant homeopathic medicines. It's right here. It's in Virginia. It's in our region. And it's based upon aiding humanity, particularly humanity that is suffering from illness and disease, but very much so trauma. And illness and imbalance resulting from bacteria, funguses, and viruses that we're beset with planetarily right now. She's developed with the Great White Brotherhood a system of healing that's very experiential, where you can experience this spiritual energy coming in. It's called MAP, the Medical Assistance Program, and it's accessible to everyone. That is an experience that will bring us closer to God. And the third area is something that I've been practicing for, I guess, the last 10 years, called biogenesis. I think Howard mentioned a bit of biogenesis in his remark. But there is instruction that's being provided by a cosmic being called Thoth. It's familiar to those who studied about Egyptian history, Egyptian cosmology, and Lantos, an ascendant master. And they, through their work with a particular family of a herbal healer named Hannah Kroger, came up with instructions and tools that contain the energies of the cosmos in relationship to helping to heal and balance and assist humanity as we're going through this ascension process. I think Mary alluded to. We're going through a unique time in the history of the planet where things are speeding up and where we are raising our vibration. Well, the biogenesis information is on our website and available to most people. They have two main spokespersons, a brother and sister, who were in the family of Hannah Kroger. And this practice that has evolved is connected up, down and through different spiritual traditions, and it's called the cosmic seeds. And they talk about in a daily practice of enlivening and absorbing cosmic seeds that come to us through the cosmos, through different even galaxies and planets that are directed at helping us to heal and helping us to bridge the higher and the lower realms of reality as we are moving through the planetary ascension and trying to raise our vibration. Now, when in each of these practices, whether it's the counseling, the working with healing, with homeopathy and other forms of alternative healing, when we're done, these are done with pure intent. And that is where I lean on the three healers that Michelle taught to help us establish that pure intent for our connecting up with the God within. When we raise our consciousness, we're able to access the divine light in which our spiritual gifts and capabilities are activated. And Michelle always taught this was the right of every son and daughter of God, that we had a right to enter into the highest good and the Christ consciousness. And these practices can help us realize our closeness to God and that we're we're really never disconnected from the Creator. As Mary said, God is not only everywhere out here, but also everywhere in here and on all levels and realms. And just what is the divine light in which we operate to do this? I found an interesting quotation from the Aquarian Gospel of Christ. It said, divine light is the breath of God vibrating at the speed of thought. And that is accessible to all of us if we have a mind with which to think. God is everywhere and in everything and in us. So that those are ways in which, on a daily basis, I try to come close to the God within me, to activate the divine nature within, and to reinforce the understanding that that is always present. Sometimes in the nature of life day to day, it escapes us. We fall back into a lower vibration. Some of our thoughts are what we are exposed to, but always we can return to a higher level, a higher vibration and frequency when we engage in these different practices, along with praying and along with meditating. So that's what I have to offer.
Thank you, Gloria. Thank you so very much. That was very lovely and very well thought. And Kelly, were you going to share something tonight?
I did have a poem, I guess, from Khalil Gibran that I wanted to read. And it goes like this: let these be your desires in love, to melt and be like a running brook that sings its melody to the night, to know the pain of too much tenderness, to be wounded by your own understanding of love, and to bleed willingly and joyfully, to wake at dawn with a winged heart and give thanks for another day of loving, to rest at the noon hour and meditate love's ecstasy, to return home at eventide with gratitude, and then to sleep with a prayer for the beloved in your heart and a song of praise upon your lips.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you very much. Does anyone else like to share or have prepared something they'd like to share, or just spontaneously share something is fine?
Mary, I have a couple of thoughts. It's Brenda.
Thank you.
So when I thought about growing closer to God, our Creator, I remember the most important relationship that we can have is the one that we have with God. And for me, relationships are about quality time and attention. And when I put my attention to drawing closer to God, I notice that miracles happen and that there are no coincidences. You'll know you're doing it right because blessings will flow. And one example was from when I realized I was in a very dark hour and I was trying to get closer to God and understand what was going on. I was having trouble reading the Bible. So a friend of mine gave me a Bible on CD pack. And for the very first time, I put it in, Genesis started playing. I listened to several chapters before my daughter called me for the very first time after a long time of being estranged and apart. And it just was the miracle that I had been praying for. And it was just such a confirmation that I was doing the right thing. I was on the right track. Really putting my time and attention to my relationship with God, and then everything else flowed from there.
Wow.
So one of my favorite quotes that you alluded to earlier was, prayer is talking to God and meditation is listening to God. And that two-way communication is what's so important. It's required in any relationship, but especially in the most important relationship with God. And in the computer lingo, a trusted connection requires a password. So when you log in, there's a trusted connection when you give it your password. But to get a connection to God, it only requires trust. And that's why we say, in God we trust. So I wanted to read a passage from Revelation. It's chapter 3, verse 20. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come into him and eat with him, and he with me. And I submit to you that we don't even need to hear the voice to open the door. We just have to trust that God is there and open that door. And it's like the whole, I think the first thing I ever heard about having a relationship with God is ask and you shall receive. So thank you for letting me share those thoughts and reflection.
Beautifully shared, Brenda. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have anyone else who would like to share something before we go into our regular meditation? Okay. Beautiful evening sharing. I really appreciate everything everyone has said, and it has enriched everybody. Thank you. A blessing. So if you'd like, I have a meditation from Kelly, who had done this some time back. I'd like to play for us this evening. And let me pull it up here so I'm getting the right one going.
All right, hello and welcome. My name is Kelly Wilk, and today we're going to be doing a meditation on loving kindness. We'll begin by taking deep breaths. We feel the solid earth beneath us. Our ties to the earth are deep and strong. We feel our feet as they become tree roots, stretching down into the ground. The roots stretch deep and deeper still into the earth, to its warm core. Our upper bodies begin to feel like the branches of a great tree, stretching upwards, reaching for the sun. We feel ourselves touch this light and reach further still to the white light of heaven. We are surrounded completely by this light, entirely enveloped by the protecting light of God. We are safe. We return to the feeling of being cradled by the earth, not just the ground beneath our feet, but the living earth, the earth that powerfully supports all life, providing shelter, resources, stability, and so much more. The earth is our mother, our anchor. Feel how deeply and unconditionally supported you are by the earth. Now we take some of our own energy and we amplify it with thoughts of love, thoughts of gratitude, and the grace of heaven. Until we get a great amount of energy. We spend a moment here really sending these thoughts of love and gratitude and grace. And then sending them right into the core of the earth. Sending this beautiful energy right back to the heart of the earth. We become aware of all this loving light traveling from us, or I should say from heaven to us, to the earth's core. We see it in our mind's eye. As we watch, we see the energy spread out from the core, moving all through the ground. We see many light channels flowing through the earth. And each one of these channels are filled with love, filled with light and strength and grace. All the channels, all the rivulets crisscrossing all through our earth. Soon these energies of gratitude and grace begin coming to the very surface of the earth, permeating the soil, the water, the plants, the animals. This loving gratitude is now being absorbed and distributed to all the environs of the earth, to all sentient beings everywhere. Finally, we see this loving gratitude coming from the soil, from the sentient beings, and floating upwards, permeating the very air, the sky, the atmosphere, truly and completely filling it up. Every part of the earth is filled with this love, this light, this grace and peace. Continuing the journey upward, we feel our souls stretch out towards the heavens. We feel the light and love of the heavenly realms, the angels, the saints, God. We take a moment to rest in that light. We feel how it resonates within us and through us. We become aware of how strongly a part of that very light dwells in us. Take a moment to really let that sensation sink in. Now we feel the gathering of the heavenly light, the presence of God, as it begins to rain down on the earth, on all beings of the earth, soaking into the earth itself. We see the earth, all the different ecosystems on earth, all the deserts, the valleys, the mountains, the oceans. All the earth is sucking up this light of God that just keeps raining down. This makes us very deeply aware of the presence of God in the earth all around us. We see if we can see that spark, that light of God in every animal, in every plant. It's glowing and growing and filling with healing power, filling up with peace and with light. We just see this light here on earth continually growing brighter and stronger. Now, very specifically, we draw our attention to our own bodies, our own selves. We try to find that spark of heaven, of light, of Christ consciousness within us, this peace of God. And it is glowing, becoming brighter, becoming first like a candle flame and then like an even brighter, stronger flame, filling all of us, all of our bodies, spirits, minds with light. As light continues to travel through us, we feel it in our heads, going down our necks, going down our shoulders and arms. It moves strongly and surely in our torso, all the way down our spines. It pools in the hips and goes down both legs until we become bodies of light. And now we see if we can picture someone, some friend, some person we love. We see if we can picture them and become aware of the spark of light in them, the light of God in one of our own loved ones. We see that the spark of light, the light of heaven, is within them and all around them. As we watch, it grows brighter, it grows stronger. It is a shining, brilliant white, almost pearlescent. And the luminosity of it grows and grows and grows until we can plainly see this other being is truly a being of light. We can see this so clearly in this loved one. And if we were to look out over a crowd of people, any people, even complete strangers to us, we can picture one but instead of focusing on their face or form, what they're saying, instead we focus on the light that is inside of them. This light that is the very same light that we have been sensing in heaven, on earth, in ourselves and our loved ones. This light is in everyone. And if we watch, if we focus, we can really see it filling them up. We see the light as it fills people we know, strangers we don't know. It surrounds them. It is within them. It comes pouring out of them. We become ever more aware of how the light of God is present in all. Again, we take a moment to focus on this light, moving all around and within all the people of the earth. As we watch, this light grows ever more beautiful, ever more clear. And as we picture this light growing, we send out a blessing to go along with it. That the light of God may shine and grow in all, in everyone, and that it may be recognized. With this blessing in mind, we begin our journey, traveling back towards our own selves, taking deep breaths. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. That beautiful meditation. I hope that everyone who is seeing this will go to our website at ccwh.com and go to the place where you might be giving us if you can, a donation through PayPal. We really could use your support, whether it be a one-time donation or there's an option to do small monthly donations would be very helpful to us. We are very grateful for that. And we are, as I said, nonprofit, and these are tax deductible. Thank you so much. And we'll end with our virtual joining of hands as in a circle, and we will sing our closing hymn, Let There Be Peace on Earth. You can do that from home. It doesn't go well if we all do it live on Zoom, but the words are there for us to remember.